Welcome back to the Gotcha Outdoors podcast. We got a fun one today. Mr. Mike Costello of HOWL for Wildlife is here in the house. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
We've been trying to do this for a while, so
Yeah.
finally made it happen. So we're excited about it. So tell us a little bit about your role with HOWL. Just kind of start there. What's your role?
Yeah, what is HOWL? People may not know.
What is
Yeah.
HOWL? Let's start there.
So HOWL for Wildlife. HOWL is all about hunter advocacy, hunting advocacy, and really we're very much a grassroots. We're focused on informing and inspiring individual hunters to participate in the decision-making process. So many times you hear about when there's a challenge or a threat to a hunting issue, hunting right, hunting opportunity that, we're just going to lose. And that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we have the attitude that we're just going to lose, guess what? We are just going to lose.
Yep.
And I'm kind of a delusional optimist on a lot of things. I think all things are possible, especially if we engage and we participate in the process. And so HOWL was really born back when bear hunting, which I know is near and dear to you guys' hearts, when bear hunting was attacked in California, 2 years in a row. The first year it was legislation, and a senator in San Francisco introduced legislation. Probably he was emboldened by a bunch of rhetoric and lies told to him by the Humane Society.
Yeah.
They convinced his staff or the senator that this is a good political move, right? Because politicians at the end of the day just want to get reelected.
Absolutely.
And so they move to the winds, the political winds or the social winds that are out there. And so I'm sure HSUS gave them a great presentation about why this was a great political win for him to introduce this anti-bear hunting legislation.
So it probably looked like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, it looked like low-hanging fruit, looked like an easy win. It's going to get the backing of all those anti-hunting folks out there and all that. And we, as a community of hunters in California, for probably one of the first times ever, and I think a lot of people that have been in the hunting and hunting regulation trade said it was like the first time ever in California where we had a massive groundswell of support for bear hunting statewide, across state lines, from out of state even, to the point where Charles, who founded HOWL, he spun up the change.org initiative, because that's like the only place we had to go at the time. Like, where do we go to get like everybody to dive in and say, I support this? So he did it through change.org. And we had over 25,000 people clicked on that change.org petition in a week.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Oh yeah. We all did. And duck hunters did. Waterfowlers did. Deer hunters did. People saw this is an oh hell no moment. Like no, like you're not going to take away bear hunting across the board in California.
Yeah.
And of course there was also hundreds if not thousands of phone calls into the senator's office. People made personal visits to the senator's office, and he pulled that legislation back, removed it in about 10 days.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize it was such a short
It was a
window.
very short window of time. It was phenomenal, and it really showed, I think, all of us as a community, but more importantly, Charles, since he had started the change.org petition, he saw the mechanics of how that worked, and he realized, and then also our community realized, we actually have a voice. We actually can affect change. And if we all dive in together and participate in the process. Of course, go forward 9 months, this attack on bear hunting came back again from the HSUS as a petition to the commission. And it was assumed, we're going to lose it now. Like, we're going to lose it now. I was like, no, we don't have to lose it now. We have to, we need to get in that arena. We can't sit outside. We cannot sit outside the arena drinking beer, complaining about the refs while the other team just runs the ball. Like, we need to go in the arena, even if we don't like the rules, even if we don't like the refs, even if we don't like the arena, we have to go in there and participate. And so I was doing a lot of work in like the social media realm, trying to get people to join Zoom calls that I was set up to like talk about how the commission works, how we can participate in the commission process, how we email them, how we show up in person, getting that going. Charles at the same time was developing this tool, this advocacy tool that was HOWL, and we got put together and like, man, we're both working on the same thing. And he was developing this tool to where there would be tech that would support that advocacy. And so through that process, there was also an attack on, I think, mountain lion hunting in Arizona at the same time. Roughly the same time, there was an attack in the legislative process on mountain lion hunting in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And so in that early 2021, 2022 timeframe, people nationwide saw the anti-hunting industry popping up everywhere in places that we thought were like kind of sacred, safe, protected spaces for big game hunting. And so the magic of HOWL for Wildlife as an advocacy tool is that we've got over 50,000 individuals nationwide support hunting issues outside their state. Like we've had thousands of Californians support the issues in Colorado. We've had people in Florida support issues in New Hampshire.
I mean, we're all on the same team, right?
We're all on the same team. But, well, we are, the three of us know this, but this is a new idea.
Yeah.
A lot of times HOWL has been told by legacy organizations that have been around for a long time, like, oh, you're never going to get the waterfowlers to support bear hunting. You're never going to get the elk hunters to support, trapping. You're never, we're too segmented by geography. That's not my state. I'm not going to get involved. That's not my species. I don't care about that species. And what we're finding, probably just because we keep saying it, like if you say something enough times, it starts to become true. Is that we can bicker about what's better, long range rifle hunting or trad bow, like which one's cooler, right? We can bicker about that, but we also need to be aligned that we're going to support both.
Yeah.
And we're I don't understand trapping. Like trapping to me is like it's, I don't understand the mechanics of it. I don't understand, I'm learning the resource needs for it and how it works as a resource tool, as a ecological tool, but I'm going to support it. I'm going to support regulated, legal, trapping. I'm going to support running hounds. Like I'm learning about hounds. Am I ever going to run hounds? Probably not. But as a mechanism to participate in the natural world, there's a regulated process to harvest and manage lion populations. Yeah, I believe it's important that we support it.
Imagine only having fair chase lion hunting. And
right.
None would be killed.
Yeah. Imagine only having fair chase lion hunting to do scientific work.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do science.
Good point. Yeah.
You cannot do scientific work on mountain lions without either traps or hounds.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of animals out there that if you couldn't trap them or run hounds for them, the biologists would just sit around.
They'd still be like Sasquatch.
They'd just be on whiteboards. Like, well, what if?
Yeah.
What if?
All
What
theoretical.
if? It'd be all theory. And so, anyways, HOWL for Wildlife, across state lines, across all species, across all methods of take, hunter engagement to participate in the process, which is usually at the commission level, which is slow and messy because they bring in all the voices, the hunters' voices, the biologists' voices, the anti-hunters have a voice. Like everybody has a voice. But ideally, the commission is where things take a long time to happen, but they're most easily undone because you can track and measure results, and so the commission can shift gears. An animal becomes more abundant, they can shift gears to more hunting. The animal becomes less abundant, they can shift gears to less hunting. So the commission is where things are messy, nobody's ever really happy, but things are easily walked back. It's always a two-way door. And then the legislative process is where we have to dive in and the whole talk to your legislature, talk to your senator. Well, that's not always easy because it takes several minutes to figure out who the hell's my senator. Like, we don't know. Should we all know? Of course we should. High school civics, we should know these things. We don't.
Right.
It's
Most
not
people
easy.
don't,
It should be easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. So many layers to the process.
You email your senator. Well, what if the legislation's sitting in committee? What if there's only nine senators that are looking at that, and the other dozens aren't? Well, if we all email our senator, mostly our arrows are missing. Our messages are not hitting the target. We need to talk to those 9 in that committee. And so, like, our tools are set up so that when you send a message through HOWL's Advocacy Center, it goes to the decision maker, goes to the commissioners, or it goes to the committee that's actually looking at that moment, so we can, if we want to stop that legislation or support it, we can focus our message on that committee or that commissioner who's actually sitting with the issue in their hand, and it makes it a much more focused and effective tool.
So you mentioned 2 processes for getting things done. One was the legislative process, and then the commission.
Yeah.
Are there other processes?
Yeah.
That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, can you break down the uses of each function and what they can do, what they can't do, and also who does the commission report to? Because usually a commission is formed by a larger body or agency to report back to them, right? They're the experts in that demographic. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Good questions. So usually, like, the legislature, and this is, my knowledge is mostly California. I'm seeing a lot of how other states work. So this is, I'll be wrong on some element of this, but I think it's mostly accurate. The legislative process establishes law and statutory law, and they create, like, the widest guardrails or the most severe enabling or restricting laws, such as in California.
And does that have to be voter driven?
Well, that's the elected. So the senators. So usually you've got your senators and your assembly members, your representatives at the state level, and then that law gets signed on by the governor. So it's political, and so the people that have the most access in the legislature at the state level or federal is usually your lobbyists, your the people that have sophisticated and funded political power, and our voices as individuals. Ultimately, we do have voices through, by contact your electeds. And then what's in statute becomes law, and then the commission or the Department of Natural Resources, usually there's some kind of commission that is separate from the legislative body, that then develops regulations within the framework of what's legal. And often what those laws tell the commission, we want you to create the regulations here. And then the other place that laws are made, or regulations, limitations are made, is through the ballot box. And so several dozen states, California included, Colorado included, have a ballot initiative process where any citizen or group can put together a ballot initiative. We want this to be law. We want, all cars to be blue. That's it. We feel like that should be a law. And so we're going to go out there and we're going to knock on people's doors and run a petition to get enough signatures from citizens in the state to then qualify for this to be on the ballot. And ballot, that's the ballot box biology thing. And that's the worst of the 3. So commission, it's messy, takes a long time, there's a ton of information, a lot of viewpoints, a lot of data is injected at the commission level. Takes the longest, it's the messiest, but it usually is the most balanced outcome, and it can be changed. Elected, so you get your senators and your assembly members and your governor involved, they draw the legislation up. Political power and monetary political power is very important there. Less data is involved, less ecology is involved. It's harder to reverse. Because you have to get a new law to replace it. Ballot box biology, there's no data involved. It's a picture and a headline. And that headline can be an absolute lie. It's whatever you can do to trigger somebody's emotional response in the 37 seconds they're using to decide, am I going to vote in favor of this or not?
Yeah.
And so it's very much, it's citizen driven, but forget about the cars being blue thing. I want to have a ballot initiative that makes it so that airplanes can only land and take off east to west. What the fuck do I know about like air traffic control?
Yeah.
Like we need to pay professionals to do air traffic control. We need to pay professionals to manage the medical boards, like brain surgery.
And you could throw in some line about birds dying from north and south.
Right. Yeah. The Pacific Flyway is north and south, and so we need to align. Like this is exactly it. Like
so this is how we come up with stuff.
I feel like too many migratory birds are dying along the Pacific Flyway, so we need to orient the jets taking off a certain way. And you can make up a very emotional plea that sounds right.
Yeah.
You could package that so it sounds right. So your average, suburban couple that's got 3 kids, 4 soccer leagues, 2 jobs, a church and a softball team that they're dealing with and a mortgage and all that, you go, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to vote for that.
Yeah.
With zero concept of the economic, the logistical,
throw in
the
a couple
scientific.
Of, wolf wolf pups.
Yeah,
and
throw in some pictures.
The wolves need to come back.
Yeah, or
man.
Duckley. It is about the. So you throw in some cute pictures and you package that headline and the story behind it. So it's like, oh yeah, and you're like, I need to decide. I'm going to vote. Yeah, I like ducks. I'm going to vote for that. So you're telling the entire airline industry how to fly planes.
This is the biggest problem I have.
And that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. This is the biggest problem I have with the whole hunt quietly movement. I get where they're coming from.
Have you looked up my feelings on that?
I haven't. I wanted to get your feedback. We'll get it organically now. But that's been my biggest problem. I get the premise, right? You don't want crowds at your hunting spot. But that's not really what it's about. It's about the community. Pulling people together and having the voice.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you don't, our rights are going to be, our privileges are going to be eroded. They are.
So, we'll get to that. So during the Humane Society's attack on bear hunting, at the final commission meeting, where the petition was it was up to a vote of yay or nay, we had like 170 hunters show up. On Zoom in person, probably a couple dozen in person. And it was amazing because the hunters that spoke in that meeting all spoke as individuals with their story, their value set, why they hunt, why they hunt bear, what they do with the bear, why they support bear hunting. Maybe they don't hunt bear. Maybe they don't hunt bear, they support it. So there's all these very individualized value statements. HSUS and all the executive directors of their various spawned off little, like smaller animal protection organizations all read the same statement. They all read the same statement that was anti-bear hunting. So you can see it was very packaged. Like these were not individual citizens speaking their from the heart. This is their script. This is their agenda. And the HSUS during that time was very much about, we hunt bear. They're saying they hunt bear for likes on Instagram, for a picture. They trophy hunt bears for a picture. And so the whole trophy hunting thing has been co-opted by the anti-hunting industry. That word has been intentionally manipulated so that it conveys an emotional, creates an emotional trigger in people about trophy hunting. I also think it's been manipulated in ways to where the three of us as hunters and people that are listening and watching this as hunters second guess whether or not we should share our stories. Mm-hmm. They want us in the closet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The anti-hunting industry wants us to not post those pictures. They want us to second guess. They want our stories hidden away in the proverbial closet, because then our social communities around us that don't hunt, that are non-hunters, won't build a relationship with the idea of liking what we're doing. When I started hunting as an old person, I was 47 when I started hunting, about 7-8 years ago. And so I'm an adult onset hunter. I didn't kill anything for the first 4 years. So my social network, Instagram, Facebook, friends directly, etc., family, I was like, who are you? Like, I don't, like, where did you come from? This is not the person I knew. So they saw this development of hunting. They saw this very long period of, lots of time hiking, lots of time looking, lots of trail camera pictures, this discovery process that developed. And so this person, I'm a non-hunter, now I'm hunting, I'm showing this agonizingly long path of failure. So that when I finally killed my first animal, which was a bear, archery, I had all these people that most of them are not hunters going, fuck yeah. Like, that's awesome, Mike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, way to go.
They saw you work for it.
They saw the work. They saw the work. And I had a lot of people kind of like, I had no idea it was so hard. I had no idea it was so involved. I had no idea there was so much failure. I had no idea that what you did with it. Like, I had no idea you processed that meat and turned it into food.
Yeah.
Like bear. And so I had all these other people that are non-hunters that created a relatable, my story of failure and trail cam pictures and scouting made it a relatable experience for them. They're not out hunting. 99% of those people are not hunting now. Like, it's not like I've converted them to hunters.
Right.
What I've converted them into is realizing that when somebody says bear hunters are just trophy hunters, they say, well, Mike's not that person. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw Mike develop into a bear hunter, and I think you're lying to me. Like, what this thing that you're saying about bear hunters doesn't align with my experience of the bear hunters I know. So I think you're lying to me, and now I want to know, why are you lying to me? Yeah. Like, why are you with this agenda lying to me about the people I know that do participate? Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going to be resistant to what you're saying.
Yep.
And that's where I think Hunt Quietly is dead wrong. Mm-hmm. Our stories, and I'll say this, some grotesque, a really, really bad shot placement, blood everywhere. This buck here, bleeding out, tongue hanging out. There's ways to do a good picture and a bad picture.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And there's also ways to do it to where show the story, show the build-up, show the scouting days, like show more of the story to broaden that relationship of who's watching it.
That's why we love filmmaking, because people get to see, like, if you watch the film where I killed this buck,
right? It's
a 35-minute film,
right? And
there's 2.5 minutes of us with the deer,
right?
And it's all about what happened.
And the 33 minutes without it are what make that 2 minutes
exactly
important.
We had to weather a storm. We were soaking wet. It was a miserable hunt, And then the sun pops out, this buck walks out, the whole thing changes. It's an incredible story, and that's what I think most non-hunters don't get to see until they meet someone like you or us and get to see the inside of kind of how it works. Right. They just envision us walking out in the field and there's a bunch of deer standing there and we just mutilate them, and look at this head I got, that's
there's a keg. There's a keg in the back of the truck tapped. You guys drive around just shooting stuff.
Yep.
People don't know. So traveling a bunch of the expos this year, we're in a lot of Ubers. They're always like, what are you guys doing in town? Oh, we're here for the Hunt Expo. Oh yeah, I heard about that. What's going on? People don't know that hunting's even regulated.
Mm-hmm. There's so much ignorance.
People don't know.
It's true.
People don't know that hunting's regulated. They don't know that there's tag allocations. That
they don't know hunters fund conservation.
They don't know. They don't know that we're paying for licenses and tags, and those licenses and tags pay for biologists. They pay for habitat. And they pay for. They don't. People. Most folks don't know that we do eat 90% or more of the animals that come off the landscape. Mm-hmm. They don't know that there's laws that say you have to harvest the meat. Mm-hmm. So most folks, and this is where I think it's important that we not. I can't be mad at the non-hunter who doesn't know these things. Why would they know these things?
Right, it's a non-hunter.
What they know is what they're being told. What they know is the pictures that they're getting from Center for Biological Diversity about the crisis. Mm-hmm. They know those slogans. They know those headlines. They know those cute pictures, and they, for some reason, people trust the Center for Biological Diversity. For some reason, people trust the HSUS to deliver them a message that's accurate. But they forget that those organizations have tens of millions of dollars of budget for for legal, for non-biological, non-ecological agendas. You know, they're marketing and their legal teams mostly. They don't put squat into habitat.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so we can't be mad at the person that's a non-hunter that doesn't know what our ethics are, what our story is, and why what we do contributes to actual wildlife success. Because we're not telling them that. So we have to tell them that. We have to communicate to those people.
And this is the like you iterated, this is the problem I think a lot of people that are aligned with us have with movements like Hunt Quietly, because those people, the non-hunters, the only way they're going to see our real stories is how everyone sees everything now.
Right.
Is social media,
so if we're putting
online, right? And we got to
put them out there.
And I think instead of maybe a movement like Hunt Quietly, I could see a movement to, help guide hunters into being, using discretion.
Better storytellers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make a good story. Yeah. Don't make it all about
tell the story.
Blood. Yeah. Tell the story. Show your trophy. Absolutely. You're proud of it. You worked hard for it.
Yeah.
Just like if your kid wins a soccer game, you're going to share a picture with your friends on your Facebook. Like, we won this championship or whatever. It's the same thing. You worked hard for this.
Yeah.
You earned it.
Share your why. Yeah. Share your why.
That's been my biggest problem with the word trophy. They use it as a platform, right? As if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But what's a trophy? It's a symbol of achievement, right?
Yeah.
That bear or deer is my symbol of achievement.
Right.
The meat I get out of it is my trophy.
Right.
Like I worked really hard to put that meat in my freezer for my family.
Yeah.
It is a trophy to me. It's special to me.
Yeah.
So them using the word trophy as some sort of a bad word doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's weird how the language has been, corrupted. Even, I wanted to, when the HSUS rep, she's got pictures of her family on Facebook. I'm like, have you lowered the value of your child's soccer match because you posted a picture of it on Facebook? I posted a picture of my hunt on Facebook, and now I've lowered the value of that. I've devalued it because I've shared a picture of something. You're saying it's a trophy now. The conservation value, the meat value, the physical human challenge and overcoming adversity value, like all these other psychological, emotional, financial values that are part of the hunt, go out the window as soon as I share a picture of it.
Yeah.
What about your kid's soccer match? Like let's just be logical here and intellectually consistent. And so it is ridiculous. One of my goals, 10 years from now, I want trophy hunting to be recognized as like the ultimate economically and ecologically sustainable hunt there is. That the trophy hunter, the true trophy hunter, goes out there, they invest in licenses for 5 states. They're buying thousands of dollars worth of tags. They're going years between harvesting anything because they haven't come across that next best achievement. Like those people, the people that are true trophy hunters. Now we all should have our trophy. We all should get, like, wherever we are on the spectrum of hunting, we should get we should get the little trophy, because we're new. Yeah. We should get whatever we want to call our trophy.
Yeah.
But like the dialogue about the trophy hunters, it's like, let's use that and say, look, if you're going to call somebody a trophy hunter, you're going to say they're a trophy hunter, means they're investing more than they're taking from the resource, because they're because it's the opposite. And Jason Matzinger has a great film about this called Selective. They're being selective. Like, anti-hunter, you don't want me to be a trophy hunter, so you're suggesting I should just go out and kill the first thing I see because I don't care.
It's a really good point
about the rack, because I don't care about all these various visual or these metrics about the animal. So I should just go out and kill whatever the hell comes across my landscape right then. And I shouldn't care if it's male or female. I think trophy, we as a community can start to define the word trophy and trophy hunting intentionally. And I want to reclaim that dialogue so people understand that trophy hunting is really selective hunting. we're all going to come off the mountain, come off the landscape with a different trophy. It's going to look different. What we put into it looks different. But if you take it to an extreme, it's, you know, the trophy hunters that are out there harvesting nothing but 200-inch bucks. Well, they're passing on a lot of legal bucks in the process. It means they're investing time and money into the resource, into the economy that supports wildlife and habitat, to pass on a lot of animals. Like, why wouldn't we support that? That's better for the ecology. It's better for the whole system. And so we just need to start to reclaim that and challenge the use of trophy hunting as being something that can be demonized, because we don't know. Oh, that's what I was saying is that they want to personalize it. They want to talk about you and your hunt, what's in your heart, what kind of person you are. And so, and that distracts the listener, the non-hunter, from the fact that the process, the system works. You know, you've paid into the system, you're legally hunting, and so if we just attack the person and personalize it, it's easy for everybody else to be like, oh yeah, I don't like that rich European person. I don't like them. I don't like them because they're rich. I like them because they're white. I like them because they're European. I don't like them because they're not local. They find that they personalize it, you know, to where they don't like the person. So then it's easier to attack the system. But really, the system of conservation, we talk about like hunting is conservation. When we say that, sometimes we have an entitlement attitude. Like, it comes across as though we're saying, because I pay into it, I'm allowed to. But really, I think hunting depends on conservation, and conservation depends on hunting.
Absolutely.
Like, for hunting to work, for us to all, Randy Newberg's often say, we pay into it so there's more critters on the hill. Like, our goal is to have more critters on the landscape.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
It's symbiotic. Yeah. We're not entitled to go out and kill whatever the hell we want just because we pay into it. Yeah. We pay into it because we want there to be animals the next time we go. And so that's where I say, you know, it's economically, the conservation system of regulated legal hunting is economically sustainable. We pay into a system that supports better habitat, more animals, more wildlife, more abundance, and then because the conservation's working, then it comes back and we're supported.
So I want to jump real quick. There's like a million things I want to talk about, but we don't have so much time. Yeah. But that point kind of leads into, you know, hunters are a tool in the tool belt of conservation.
Totally.
Because we can effectively regulate, or not regulate, but we can effectively, I don't want to say, people don't like to use the word control. We're talking about wildlife.
Manage,
especially predator populations and prey species populations that have to become too abundant. Obviously, if anyone has basic, you know, ecology 101, you'll know if certain species get out of control, whatever. So it's where hunters are a very effective tool for conservation. Also, we help fund conservation, so there's that. But that is what I kind of want to lead into the fact of California and the bears, right?
Yeah.
So one of our favorite things to talk about, because we like bear. I mean, I like eating and killing deer more than bear, but I love bear hunting.
Yeah.
And so the California bear situation. There's a couple things I want to say and get your opinion on, or you know, any information you might have to lend to it. One of the things is conservation in general, but especially California and the bears right now, is I feel like a lot of our people, our movement, people who are hunters that are conservationists and, you know, in it to win it, basically, we're very reactive. And which this is a great step in the right direction, but we're becoming more and more reactive to political movements, people attacking our rights, and that is a fantastic thing. But I personally see, and I know this is going to be the future of where we're going, but I would really like to see more proactivity, because battles aren't won with shields.
Right. That's right.
We don't want to just protect the rights we have still. We want to go and take it to them.
Yeah.
Because we need rights back that we've already had taken from us.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend like I have enough knowledge about California bear populations and the ecology of how that works and the interspecies ecology. But I do feel like our quotas and the most recent bear population survey was that in the 80s?
So there's a new one, the new conservation plan, which is not in final draft, but it's updated. And then the number that is likely to be in that plan, the conservation plan for bear, it used to be, historically it'd be called a bear management plan, but now they're going to call it conservation plan, puts the number between 65 and 80,000 bears.
Okay, that's more like what we see.
Bears.
Yeah.
That's a lot of bears.
So that's more bears than anywhere but Alaska.
That's right.
By far.
Yeah.
So
and we have pockets of density. We have pockets of density that are like second in, if you rank pockets of density, the most dense area for bear is in Alaska. Not all of Alaska, but a specific geography of Alaska. And then we have 2 pockets of density in California that are like second and fifth in the U.S. Like we have some of the most dense numbers of bears per square mile in North
Tahoe
America.
Basin, right?
Tahoe Basin, then up in the B zone.
Yeah.
Are the next 2.
Yeah. So there's I mean they're thick. They're like fleas in California right now. And I was talking with a fish and game biologist, and they were saying that the bears are jointly responsible for the deer herd decline with the lions. And I guess, I don't know if you've heard this before, but it was the first time I'd heard it a couple years ago, is that the lions are much more efficient at killing adult deer, especially. But I mean, bears are fawn destroyers,
sure.
Right? But the lions will make a kill, and then the bears will steal it from them.
Yeah. And
so the lions got to kill again. And they got to kill again, and they got to kill again. And the bears are such prolific breeders that they just go around catching these lion kills.
Yeah.
In areas that they're really prominent together, and it creates like this huge spiral effect for the deer herds.
Yeah. So bears are super adaptable. They can eat, all 4 seasons. They've got they've got forage, grass, berries, acorns, other dead animals that other animals have killed. So it's called kleptoparasitism, like kleptomania and parasite, kleptoparasitism. And I think up in the B zone, which is where one of these studies was done, it's either 70 or 77% of lion kills are taken over by a bear.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
77%. That's insane. And so I think, one of the things California's got, like, we just have such a lack of true predator management. And these things take decades to, the effect of what happens is not immediately apparent. But I think we're getting to a point where bears are actually limiting mountain lion success. Which is ironic because there's been so much pressure to protect mountain lions.
So it's backfired.
So now bears, because they're stealing 77% of mountain lion kills, lions are challenged.
They're working hard.
They have to work 3-4 times as hard to get the same amount of protein. So lions, so deer populations are effectively like at a limit. Not that the habitat can support them, the forage is there to support them, but the number of deer are limited. The number of deer are limited because bears are stealing 3/4 of them from lions. Lion success is limited, and at the end, when those 2 species populations are suffering, bears are fine because they can just go eat the berries.
Right.
They can go eat the acorns. They can go eat the grass. Like they're not affected.
That's true.
Because they will thrive because they're the omnivore. They can eat anything on the landscape. Those other 2 are going to be negatively affected, and so then more mountain lions are being pushed into. Deer are being pushed into suburban areas more. Lions are following them there.
That's one of the things we see. So I live here in Solano County, and so we have a lot of hills that come down into town and everything. And I'll be talking about deer and deer population suffering and whatever, and people are like, man, there's deer. I got 10 deer in my backyard. I got deer all over the place.
Because they feel safe.
So everyone thinks, oh, the deer herd you know, or not everyone, but people who live in communities near foothills and where deer are present, they're just flocked into these neighborhoods.
The suburban fringe has lots of deer. You go up into the immigrant wilderness in D6, and there's like, where's all the deer?
It's a ghost town.
It's a ghost town. Yeah, it's a fraction of what could be there. So the conservation, being proactive is exactly where we need to go. So in California, like, who makes what rules? We as Californians have lost very few hunting privileges through the commission. The use of hounds to pursue mountain lions or bear was taken away through legislation.
Right.
The bobcat hunt is currently stalled, or it's on hold due to legislation. Mountain lion hunting was eliminated through an executive order by Reagan, and then through ballot box biology, finally in 90. Maybe it wasn't Reagan. I can't remember. Anyways, there's been Republican, like, we think about left and right. Like, there's in California, it's everybody's participated in the problem.
It's
to one degree. It's politics, yeah. And so, mountain lions, you know, the hunting of mountain lions, the running of coursing, using hounds to take bears. Most of these things we've lost through either the legislature or through ballot box biology. And so, the commission is, whether we like it there or not, that's kind of our safest space. I mean, right now, the commission there's only one big game hunter on the commission. He's relatively new. The rest of them are involved. The commissioners are involved in, you know, fishery sciences, wildlife biology. You know, they're much more involved in science, but they're very objective and they're very opportunity focused, and and that's fine. Like if somebody's going to be objective about like ecosystem success and balance, and acknowledges the human element of humans participating in the landscape, that's fine. Like, they don't have to go out there and chase big game every year. And so our commission is very focused on opportunity, and this is something I say is, you can't build diversity, equity, inclusivity, and opportunity when you're taking away the opportunity to go hunt bears.
Right.
Hunting bears in California, the zone, when you look at the geographic reach of the bear zone, when you look at the season length, August to December 31st, when you look at the options for methods of take, you don't have to wait in line. You have to get a preference point. Like, you can just go get your tag. Like, the opportunity to hunt bear as a big game animal that can put 100 pounds of meat in the freezer is the most accessible hunt there is in the U.S. in California.
Yep.
So you want to take away the opportunity for a new hunter, first generation urban hunter who wants to get out into the woods and participate in the process. You take away bear hunting, you've taken away a massive opportunity for those people.
To kind of piggyback on that, I was reading through the draft of the conservation plan for bears. I didn't read the whole thing, but this was the most profound statement in the draft.
Okay.
So I think it was 15%. If you harvested 15% of the current population, they deemed that sustainable.
It's a lot of bears.
That's like 10,000 bears, right?
It's
Give or take, based on
Could you imagine?
10,000 bears.
Right.
We harvest what?
1,000.
Yeah,
1,200.
Yeah,
1,200
on a good year.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's why we have exponential growth in the population.
Right.
We're just not hitting those sustainable numbers. Not even close.
Yeah.
We're at a 10th.
Yeah, we're at a fraction of it. And so the conservation plan in California, the first thing you say bears, the first thing anybody says is like, bring hounds back.
Yeah.
And I think, and my answer to that is yes. Let's get hound hunting back. But let's also talk about strategically, what can we get done today? What can we get done tomorrow? What do we need? How do we get to the point where hound hunting's back? Hound hunting was taken away through the legislature. And so the question is, what can we get done? You know, and so until we as a community are out in front of every Walmart and Whole Foods and Sportsman's Warehouse, until we are out in the community convincing 100 citizens who vote that they should support the running of hounds to harvest bears, we're not going to get it back. Like, we have to convince all of the electeds, 2/3 or whatever the electeds, to be in favor of that. And the only way the only way the electeds are in favor of that is when their constituents are in favor of it.
Right.
And so we can be correct on the science of it, the economics of it. We can be right. We can be so right that it's painful, but it won't matter unless the politicians feel the support or the pressure from their constituents. And so that's where we need to start talking to our neighbors about these things. Like we can't, and one of my goals, I'm putting this out in the universe more now, and I need to put it on paper and start building the program for it. But I want to see by 2030, my vision is that by 2030, so 6 years, we're in a position in this state to have a constitutional amendment that it wouldn't be the constitutional right to hunt. It would basically be focused on a constitutional amendment for scientifically guided wildlife management, and take all these laws, whether ballot box or through the legislature, and push them all back to the commission.
Why does the governor get to decide if he can kill mountain lions?
Push them back, push them to the commission, and let the commission be the shit show arena. And maybe we don't get mountain lion hunting back. Maybe the science says no. Maybe the social science says no. But at least that's a venue where all of the stakeholders can bring their story, bring their values proposition, where the department can present its data, where we can look at studies from other states of this is what happens when how much bear, spring hunt. Oh, you're gonna orphan all the cubs because you're gonna kill sows. Show me the data.
Yeah,
that's a great story. I like the story.
Yeah.
Oh, pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Because that's terrible.
How many are harvesting sows in spring?
So show me the data on how many lactating sows are being killed in Idaho during the spring bear hunt.
Yeah.
Let me see the data.
Yeah.
Because if it's happening in mass, like if it's happening at scale, then that's a problem. I agree. So we won't do that.
Okay, they're talking about the same people that they trust to, 30 minutes before sunrise, identify the difference between a hen gadwall and a hen pintail.
Right.
Flying.
Right. That's hard.
Point.
I can do that all day, every time.
Okay.
Right? I can also tell the difference between a sow and a boar bear.
Right.
From 500 or 600 yards with my binoculars.
Right.
Like you can just tell if you learn. And hunters are responsible for multiple reasons, because partly we're held responsible by law.
Right.
And game wardens are there to check it out, and you got to get your bear validated.
And we care.
So one of my...
But most people don't know we care because they're told we don't.
Right.
So we need to start getting that out, that we actually, we do give it. We should be the leaders of the dialogue about wildlife success, because we can't hunt it if it ain't there.
Yeah. And so one of my thoughts is, and we've been talking a lot about this, as a matter of fact, our recent bear hunt giveaway, congrats, Nate. Wait, it's Nate, right?
Yeah, Nate.
Yeah, congrats,
Way
Nate.
to go, Nate.
He won
cool.
bear. Yeah, he's going bear hunt with us
That's
this
awesome.
year. Hopefully archery. He's getting his gear together. So, but our T-shirt that we sold for this hunt, we have a hashtag that we built. It's called Meet the Quota. MEAT.
Yes.
Meet the Quota. Right.
Yes, I love it.
So we're pushing fellow hunters, because that's the first actionable item we can create. Is like, hey guys, let's meet the stinking quota.
Right. Bear hunt.
Get out there and shoot some bears.
Right.
And we've gotten a lot of traction. A lot of guys are like,
Good.
I'm going for the first time this year just for bears.
Good.
A lot of people, you're deer hunting. If you see one, you're going to shoot it. But there's that. And then something I think is commission level that we may be able to try to work on is a spring hunt.
Right.
And I know that's a little bit more of a stretch than even just getting the quota increased.
Yeah.
But I think a spring hunt would do something super unique for the California bear season.
Yeah.
And you don't need hounds. It's something we wouldn't have to work with legislation to get hounds back. But spring hunts are becoming. Spring hunts are becoming more sexy.
Destination hunt.
Yep.
It's a destination
Guys
hunt.
love it. And in California, the weather is mild. The bears are abundant.
Right.
Guys would be coming from all over the place to shoot black bears.
It's more revenue.
Dude, it would be. I think Remy Warren has talked about this. Like, if we could have a spring bear hunt in California, it would be more in demand than bear hunting in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like, it would be one of the most in demand hunts. And when you get down to it, there's an economy. Like we need more bear studies. There's a lot, the conservation plan talks about all the gaps in studies in science. Like how do you fund another $1 million in science a year for the bear for bear management? Well, let's engage a tool that is both ecologically and economically sustainable, and issue 1,000 or 5,000 whatever bear spring bear tags.
Make it a lottery system.
It's going to be a lottery. People are going to be waiting in line for years to get that, and so that would be a great hunt. The other thing that they say is, there's 40,000 or 30,000 bear tags sold, but most people are just opportunistic hunters. It's like, well, if you have a spring bear hunt, everybody's signing on for one thing, for one thing only. Yeah. You are getting committed, intentional bear hunters who want to hunt bear, who are out there with one purpose in mind, who are going to do the right thing with that bear. They like bear meat, they want a bear hunt, etc. So at that point, you no longer have, and maybe the quota, maybe the 10,000 bears are all harvested in spring, and then the fall bear hunt goes away. I don't know. That's probably that's a stretch, right?
You probably have 2 quotas. I think.
You might have 2 quotas.
Yeah.
So I think what can the commission do? And I think you're right. The commission can adjust seasons and institute seasons. The commission can adjust zones. Northeastern California, X2, X1 area, Modoc County, there's no bear hunting there because 30 years ago there weren't many bears. There's a lot of bears up there now. Central Coast, 30 years ago there weren't many bears. There's a lot of bears there now. And so you now have huntable populations in areas of California that aren't in the bear zone. So the commission can adjust that. The commission can adjust seasons. Maybe we just have an August 1 to 12/31. All methods, rifle or archery. I think the concern is, if you're out there with a rifle, you're going to shoot your deer. It's like, well, if you have a deer tag, you can't have during archery season. If you have a deer tag on, you can't be holding a rifle.
Yeah.
Like this is
simple stuff.
You're assuming the worst. You're benchmarking against the worst of human behavior, which regulations need to protect from that, but you can't benchmark against them completely.
Yeah.
So the seasons could be modified and cleaned up and simplified. And then additional tags. If we haven't hit the quota, if the quota is there to protect over harvest, who cares if one person kills 3 bears?
Yeah, I mean, realistically.
Like if somebody is out there filling their freezer with bear meat, good on them. Like, why do if somebody wants to buy 5 bear tags,
just
and
like wild hogs,
make a $250 donation to the department and buy 5 bear tags, hallelujah. Yeah. Good for you. Like, who cares?
The quota's being met and they're buying the tags.
Right.
It's legal,
Yeah. Now, if we start hitting the quota, and that means the next person's opportunity to hunt has been reduced, then maybe you take the annual limit down. But until we're hitting, if the quota is like the safe number, then it should really be enabled to make it as accessible as possible for those that want to do it until we start hitting the quota. If we start hitting the quota, then take it from an unlimited harvest down to 2 bears or 1 bear per person.
So can the commission adjust the quota?
The commission can adjust those things. The commission can adjust the quota.
As of right now, it wouldn't make a difference. But
no, and so the commission can adjust the annual limit, how many an individual hunter can kill. Zones they can adjust. Seasons they can adjust, the quota they can adjust. The department tried to adjust the quota up from 1,700 to, I don't know, I'm going to throw a number like 2,300. The department knew, I think it was in 2011, before hound hunting was taken away. The department knew that we had bears everywhere, and the bear population was growing faster than we were harvesting bears. And so they attempted to increase the quota, and the anti-hunting community came unglued, came out in force. We had a different commission then too. People say, "Oh, the commission sucks." It's like the commission's a bunch of human beings that are appointed by the governor. They have 6-year spans, and so it's this rolling group of people that they span multiple administrations. And so we have a different set of human beings in that seat today than we did 10 years ago. So you can't just say the commission sucks. It's like we have a different group of people there today that have different objectives, and they're making different decisions. And so Because the commission can affect all those things. The commission cannot enable trapping. The commission cannot enable running hounds. So if we want to get trapping back in the state ever, or if we want to be able to run hounds for bear or mountain lion or bobcat, etc., we have to run that through the legislature.
What is approaching the commission with a proposal look like for hunters?
Yeah.
Do you know?
So I'll go back to the conservation plan right now. Conservation plan has been issued by the department. They put together their science, like 100-page document, whatever, 60-page document. The conservation plan establishes the status of bear in California, where the populations are, where the pockets of density are not, what are the issues, health issues. There's like an encephalitis issue that's a brain problem. There's a potential for mange, and these are issues that happen when you have too many bears in a small population or small area. What are the conflict issues? Lake Tahoe, there's a bear under every porch. Mm-hmm. So that, and then what the hunt is right now, and then like what's the experience in other states? What's the Idaho experience with spring bear hunt? When we go forward with trying to change the hunting opportunities, the reference point will be that conservation
Which
plan.
They kind of set us up on a T at this point.
So and so this is where it's in a draft mode, and so we can ask for things to be in that plan that aren't there right now. An example would be a future consideration for California might be the use of a spring bear hunt. The pros and cons are this. And if the con is that a blanket statement that more bears will be, or more cubs will be orphaned, if it says that, and that's not expanded on, then when 2 years from now, when we're trying to get the commission to support a spring bear hunt, they'll use that statement in the document as fact. Mm. And so the document isn't going to say we should or should not have a spring bear hunt.
Right.
What's important is that the document indicates harvest success, the pros and cons of a spring bear hunt. Pros and cons are like, here's the data, here's the tag sales, here's the economic value, here's the effectiveness. Spring bear hunts are more effective than a fall bear hunt. Here's the number of orphaned cubs per population per hunter harvest that happens in zones that have spring bear hunts. So then, like if that data is there, we need the document to have the data.
Right.
That then the commission can look at and say, okay, we see that in the 3 states that were looked at that have spring bear hunts, the number of orphaned cubs is 0.7% versus, the number of cubs that are orphaned because a boar kills a sow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, infanticide
is 3.7%, or the number of cubs that are killed by other bears is 7.2%. Like the human cause of these cubs' deaths is fractional compared to natural causes.
Right.
Well, then we can support a spring bear hunt. So we need this document to include things like what's the effectiveness of running hounds for intentionally harvesting a specific type of bear, a male, an old male, a bear without cubs. What's the effectiveness of the spring bear hunt? And then that sets us up. Once it's in that document, then it sets us up to have conversations about changing the regulatory process.
So how do we support, sorry, I probably have questions.
No, go ahead.
I'm just, my mind is running wild. So how do we, as hunters and people watching, how do we support getting there? How do we support getting the right information in these documents? How do we, is there people we need to be talking with? Is there
read it?
Right.
So the department has a process. They want public input. I would venture to say, I'll go on a limb here. I think that the folks at the department, I think they're walking a knife's edge. If they just come out and say we need a spring bear hunt, they'll get attacked. There's political pressure that doesn't want them to be so overt about what they want. There's also the anti-hunting industry will attack them if they come up with some kind of biased viewpoint. Mm-hmm. So they're walking a knife's edge to where they have to just present the data. But we need to read that document from the standpoint of what's missing, and we need to ask them for it. Like where's the study? Where's the research that says orphan bears are a thing in spring bear hunts?
Right.
we need to see where there's a statement in there that says that there's a lack of social acceptance for bear hunting. Like, based on what?
Right.
Like, thank you. Like, just because HSU has told you that, doesn't mean it's true.
Should we do a poll?
And what's that survey? Was the survey, do you support the trophy hunting of bears, or do you support the sustainable and economically and ecologically sustainable hunting of bears for meat? Because those two statements are very different, and you're going to get different, in management to reduce human conflict. So you get different outcomes from those two surveys. And so wherever there's a statement that is against the management of bears with hunting as a tool, we need to say, based on what? You've made this statement. What is that based on? We need to challenge all of those statements that have a judgment against the use of bear hunting. And then we need to ensure that wherever there's a gap in data that would inform the value or the usefulness of hunting as a mechanism, we need to ask for them to put more of that in there. So we need to read it from the viewpoint of, like, we're not going to get that document to say there should be a spring bear hunt.
Right.
We need that document to say, here's how effective it is. Here's what the economic demand is. Here's what the risks are. And lay that out. And so then it's like, oh, the risks are low, the economic demand is high, the usefulness is good, it isolates intentional bear hunters to go bear hunt. Like, oh, like when you start to put those pieces, we need to put the pieces of the puzzle together that create the picture that then when the commission puts the picture together from those puzzle pieces, it says, this is a good thing. Mm-hmm. So we need to read it from that viewpoint. It's a lot. Like, it's a huge document, right? But that's a lot. But the more we read it from that viewpoint, and then so they have a feedback process. It's online. You can fill out a form and just say, what line or what section of it you're commenting on and what you're looking for. Mm. So you can go through and provide that feedback as comments. And the more they get this, let's say the spring bear, economic value, effectiveness, and orphan cub risk. Those three things about spring bear. They can get that from me as a comment, but if they can get that from like 473 people as a comment, they kind of have to speak to it.
Yeah.
Like, the more they get these objective, data-driven requests, then the less it's about, pitchforks and torches and bring the hounds back.
Right.
Then the more it's about, like, we want to have a tool here in this document that's really effective. California Deer Association, Rocky Mountain Elk, California Houndsman for Conservation, HOWL for Wildlife, American Bear Foundation, Ducks Unlimited, California Waterfowl, all the different conservation orgs collectively are working on putting together a single document that's going to have like 100 call-outs of what needs to be in or removed from this plan, this conservation plan. So as a group, all your favorite alphabet orgs that work on conservation are doing this, and then but individual input still needed. Like, I think the grassroots individual input that sees the holes in this document from different viewpoints will help make it more robust. And so don't, just because you think an org is doing it for you, don't remove yourself. It's a very good document to read and understand. It's important to understand that the use of it's going to be in the future. And then once that document's done, then what's the commission do? So then the commission will ask the department, what do you recommend? And the commission will do that through their Wildlife Resource Committee meetings that are open to the public, and they're very informal. So just one or two commissioners are at the Wildlife Resource Committee meetings. And those are very casual meetings. They're less structured. Somebody can get up and talk, and instead of having like a 2-minute timer, you can have a dialogue in those meetings. Okay. And so the Wildlife Resource Committee meetings are kind of where new ideas are planted. Mm-hmm. They're kicked around, they're discussed, and then when you get to a point where the hunting stakeholders, the department, and the one or two commissioners that are involved kind of get to like, okay, well, here's a regulatory idea that we think we should bring forward. Then the Wildlife Resource Committee will say, hey, department, go ahead and bring forward your proposal for statute or for regulations on that. and then they bring it forward to the commission. So it's literally like an 18-month process. It's excruciatingly slow. If they're not doing what we want them to do, we, as citizens, can create a petition, just like HSUS did, to try to cancel bear hunting. We can create a petition that presents a petition to create a spring bear hunt. And then we would inject into that petition, here are the reasons why. Whereas, therefore, because the data that we can pull in from the management plan, from our value statement, we can submit a petition. They don't like it because it creates more work.
Tension. Yeah.
It creates tension, creates more work. The problem is the department has been slow. They're not nimble. They're not creative. And these are for a lot of reasons. It's not because of any one thing. Just historically, they're not very nimble or creative or innovative, and so that's why we end up with things like where our deer tag numbers haven't changed in 30 years. And they're afraid to do anything. They go this way, they get attacked by this group. They go that way, they get attacked by this group. They move over here, they get sued. And so they're just kind of in this like bomb shelter mode of just duck and cover. And so if they're not moving forward on things that we want proactively done, then we bring forward a petition.
Does the current plan, the draft plan, does it include a recommended fatality rate? And that could be, it's not just hunting, it's infanticide, depredation, problem bear removal.
Exactly. I think it talks about guardrails, like there's some places that have a 15% mortality, human caused mortality rate, and that then the population is sustainable. I think that's what we need. And that's one of the things that we're asking for, and I think everybody should ask for this. If there's one thing on the quota that I think everybody should ask for, we shouldn't have a quota that is a specific number. We should have a quota that is a ratio of population.
Yep, absolutely.
Because then we're not arguing about the quota.
The quota
again, it's like the personalized attack on what that hunter's motivations are versus a system that works.
Yeah.
We need to not have it be 1,700's the number. They're gonna break up the state into zones. So you're gonna have zone specific, which I think is good. Those upper V zones, there should be unlimited harvest.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have definitely if somebody should be able to allow to take 2 bears, it should be from those upper B zones where there's so many bears. So the upper B zones, and I don't know what the right number is, but if it's 6%, then where there's 20,000 bears, the quota is 1,200. Where there's 1,000 bears, the quota is 60. So if they could make it, I think that we should advocate for a percentage of population harvest that drives the quota. And so anytime they want to update their population estimates, that changes the number that we can harvest.
That's how Arizona did their over-the-counter mule deer hunts, right? And coos hunts.
They gear it towards population, I believe.
Yeah. And it's zone specific.
Zone specific. Well, our deer zones are zone specific. Like
it's a successful way to manage.
But it's not fluid, though. They never change.
It's not fluid. It needs to be more fluid. And so I think all of these things need to be more fluid to where, like, and this is where, like, the commission, these things don't have to be one-way doors. Mm-hmm. Like, if we find out that post-fire, Dixie Fire happens, 1 million acres burn. Let's cut the tag allocations for a year or two, and then see how the landscape works out. 3 years later, we see that all the does are having triplets because there's so much forage on the landscape. Great. 2 years later, we can increase the tags again because all these deer have all this successional habitat that's like the buffet of the decade, and all the deer are having twins and triplets. And now we've got a massive explosion in deer, so we can bring the numbers back up. Like it would be great if it was much more fluid. Yeah. If these things could be updated every 3 years at the zone level, then it's more fluid, it's more dynamic. And if you get it wrong, guess what? Like by the time we realize we've got it wrong, we're already changing the rule. We're changing the numbers again. We're adapting.
Yeah. It really it speaks to a scientifically driven approach to management.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
we as hunters need to demand that of the department.
Yes.
We need to, and to do that, we also need to be involved. And so part of it, I think, with the bear issue was hunters showed up and supported bear hunting in a way that hadn't ever happened before. And it gave the department strength to come out with a truly scientific model for the population. Like, look, hunters want to see this too. It's not just the anti-hunters that want to see this. The hunters want this too. There are people in the department that would love to see a more fluid model, I think. But we need to be there to support the department on that too. We need to kind of pull them, like the little carrot and a whip. You know, we need to like push them on it, but we also need to show them it's okay. Like we're not gonna, if they get it wrong, we're not gonna blast them.
Yeah,
we're gonna work on moving forward.
I think that because of the nature, because it's so political, such a political environment, and the nature of politics is just like you said, all the departments and like the representatives and everyone, they're going to listen to what crowd's the loudest and then go this way because that's where most of their constituents, most people are the largest voter. You know, they're scared to go against the loudest crowd because, you know, then they're screwed. They're not getting voted back in, or they're getting blown up in the commission. You know, they're going into bunker mode.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the part that traditionally in politics, like one side over the other has been very vocal, and then in our, it's the same. It's an echo chamber. In the wildlife politics, you know, the anti-hunters have always been far louder than the hunters.
Yeah.
So the politicians are lending their ear more that way because they're like, okay, I have to go
this way.
They think
that's a big group.
All these people are yelling at me.
Right.
But then you've got hundreds of thousands of hunters over here sitting quietly, just taking it.
Just complaining to each other.
That's why I love that's why I love what HOWL's initiative is. And a lot of people are jumping on board for this type of thing, but you know, HOWL kind of really embodies that for California. Like, hey, let's all stand up together.
Yeah, let's all get together.
And we don't have to be mean or ugly.
Yeah.
But we can just be like, hey, we want science, man. We want this thing to. This is all of us right here. Here we are.
Yeah.
You know?
The data and the science, and we don't have to lie. Like in Colorado, mountain lion hunting is being attacked through a ballot box initiative process. And the first headline, the first slogan they came out with was that mountain lion meat is inedible. Okay, well, this coffee cup is inedible. Like arsenic, pencils are inedible, right? So not only are they lying about the mountain lion meat being inedible, they're trying to convey then that, you know, mountain lion hunters don't actually eat the meat. Every lion hunter I met in Colorado and Utah this year, like, we love the meat.
Yeah,
that's what I hear.
This guy's like pointing to his kids, like 8, 10, 12. You're like, these three, it's the first meat they want. So I think it's like this secret in the mountain lion community. The reason that, you know, most mountain lion hunters, they probably also hunting elk. They're in areas where you can also hunt elk and other big game. Like you get 300 pounds of meat from an elk. Well, you share that with the whole community. The mountain lion meat, they're like, that's staying at home.
That's ours. Yeah.
That's ours. Like we're sharing that.
Yeah.
And so, they lead it with this headline that's a lie, and then the underlying sentiment of it, well, they don't eat the meat, is a lie.
Yeah.
And so, we've got to get our stories out there. And in California, well, everywhere, like the other part about HOWL that is my hat, Hunting is Human, is a program that we're standing up. And the whole concept that hunting is human is that it clicked with me a while ago that we say, well, hunting's conservation. Okay, well, the general taxpayer can pay for habitat. Like instead of hunters paying for it, everybody can pay for it. Mm-hmm. So now what? Now we lose. Okay, we lost that reason for it.
Yeah.
Like we always have these reasons to validate why we should hunt. And at the root, and I think we've been afraid to say, look, I hunt because I want to.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Like we're afraid. We validate it with all these external reasons, like why it's okay or why it's good, with all these justifications, and every one of those justifications can be undermined. We hunt because we want to. We hunt and why do we want to? It's because we're human beings. Because human beings, since the day we stood up and walked out of the cave, have been hunting, and in every single village, tribe, clan, sect, community, family, whatever you want to call it, in every single organized community of human beings, there have been hunters. Mm-hmm. And in almost every one of them, has everybody hunted? No. It's rare to have any social group where every single one of those people in that community hunts.
Right.
But there's always been hunters.
Yeah.
And hunting has been a intrinsically human drive since day one, competing on the landscape with predators, having great reverence for a bear or a wolf, and then also being willing to kill it and eat it, have happened in parallel since day one. I think wolves and bears and mountain lions are fantastically amazing animals.
Yep.
I love seeing bears.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my god, a bear!
I mean, how much more excited do you get when you see a bear over a deer? Right?
Yeah,
a deer are
like
exciting, but a bear is
like they are amazing animals, and so we go into the landscape and we get to observe these animals and watch them, and that is awesome. And it is okay. It can be the same reality. It can also be that I am going to hunt that bear and I'm going to kill it and eat it.
Yeah.
You know? Yep. And I'm going to take the trophy. I'm going to take the skin, the hide, the claws. There will be relics from that bear that I'm going to honor. Like, I'm going to honor that bear's existence instead of a state-paid trapper that's using government funds, dumping it into the dump because it's a problem bear. Right. I'm going to take that bear and I'm going to use resources from it, tell stories from it. It's going to be supported and memorialized through my harvest. And so hunting is human. And our goal with this program is to talk to the non-hunter, to create relatable stories to where they realize they have a hunter in their legacy. Like in their ancestry, somebody hunted in their family history. And they themselves, we're all descended from hunters, and that hunting is basically an intrinsically human trait and right, and that if we're going to take hunting away from a large group of people, those are dark days. And you look at like where else have we stripped the right to go out on the landscape and provision food for yourself? Those are dark times. Like when there's been a group in power that's told another group of people that they can't go procure their own food from the landscape. Those are bad days in human history.
That's oppression.
That's oppression.
Yeah.
That's oppression. And there's a lot of people that look at the new, you get a bunch of Europeans telling Africa how to manage their wildlife. That's neocolonialism. And so, do we all have the right to go out and kill everything? No. Modern regulated hunting, and was there a point in time where market hunting did destroy wildlife? Absolutely. Yeah. Unregulated, market-driven hunting, just to extract all the protein out of the mountains and feed it to the people in the city, that was bad. And so we're allowed to become smarter. We need to reserve the right to become smarter. And a regulated, scientifically informed process that values the ecosystem success, values the individual species success, and values humans as hunters, all three of those can happen.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen, is that every abundant species should be huntable. But we need the system to support abundance and balance. Yeah. And that we shouldn't be taking away, when we take away, I don't want you bear hunting because I don't like it. Well, that's your personal value set. What else do you not like that I'm doing? Do you not like who I choose as a mate? Do you not like what I choose to do? Do you not like the words I use? Like what else don't you like? What other rights are you going to take away from me that we consider human rights? And so, like the right to hunt movement is not the right to go out and kill everything willy-nilly as much as you want.
Right. It's
the right to participate sustainably in the natural world. And that's, so the Honey is Human program, our website will be up at some point this year. I think HOWL thinks that is where we diffuse the attacks. Because if HSUS can't get traction with those hunters are all bad people, like top line statement, then they can't get traction in the political realm either. Like if most non-voters, non-hunters acknowledge the value statement about protecting the rights of hunters, then we start to we have fewer attacks at the commission level. We have fewer attacks at the political level. We have fewer governors that are willing to just completely undermine the hunting community, because they realize, and you look at other social movements about human rights, we're not all them, but we support them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about hunting is human, is we're not asking every non-hunter to become a hunter.
Right.
We're asking you to support hunters' rights to participate in a process that functions really, really well. It clicked with me a while ago. Like, you look at the gay rights movement. You had a whole spectrum of how that movement, became a thing and became supported.
Right.
And one of the first things was like, we're humans.
Yeah.
Like, we're humans. We're not hurting you.
Yeah.
We're not taking anything away from you. You may not like what we do or how we do it or whatever, but that's your thing. It's not our thing. And you look at how that movement, and you look at any civil rights movement, they had to, some of it was like beating people over the head. We need these rights. A lot of it though was just building relatability within whatever community was not supporting them, is building relatability. And I think, and it's like the whole, like, the reason I say it intentionally, the anti-hunting industry wants us in the closet.
Yep.
There was people during the gay rights movement, that were like, we should just not push our agenda onto, like, we should just exist in the background. We should
gay quietly.
We should have our safe space where we know who we are and we're safe, and we're not going to push ourselves out into the common public. And there was a debate within that community, like, what's the right way? Should we just stay hidden on the fringe?
Where we are, right
are we safer here? Are we just like, we're good?
Yeah.
Like, or should we battle our way in and demand acknowledgement and demand rights? That was a debate amongst that group. Mm-hmm. And you've got groups, you've got the pride parades where it's like a fucking carnival. It's like, it's cringy.
Hey, we should have some hunting parades,
it's
man.
Cringy, but see, that's the thing. It's like, there's a lot of folks in the gay community. They're like, they look at the pride parades like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed for myself. Like, I'm like, there's a lot of people that look at like the San Francisco Pride Parade as a fucking carnival, and they're like, I'm so embarrassed. Like, that's not me, And then we collectively, we got like Wyoming. There are a bunch of fucking Neanderthals in Wyoming, and it's like cringy. And so you have like this whole spectrum. Like, do we want to show up? Do we really win by showing up on Capitol Mall in camo and with our rifles and our ATVs and UTVs and toting dead animals? Like, do we show up like that? Do we really gain traction in the common culture? Or is that just too over the top?
Right.
Like, but there's this whole spectrum of how do we demand acceptance versus how do we cultivate support?
Extremism on any level.
Right.
You rarely gain ground with
No.
it. You just don't.
You feel good in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Wyoming, they've got billboards. They've got like shoot, shovel, shut up billboards in Wyoming.
Are you serious? On
the
billboard?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Going into like, and Charles, he had to go, and like he was up there. And because he got somebody to write a check to pay for a billboard in Wyoming, and they're like, "Well, we should do this." Like he's like, "Who the fuck is your audience?"
Yeah, a bunch of poachers.
Who feels good?
Yeah.
Oh, we feel like, wow, we're gonna show them. Like, you've got 2 million people from all over the world driving into Yellowstone every year, and you're gonna put that up. You have just turned them off. Yeah. With your, like, know your audience. Like, you feel good because you're like, ah. It's like, no, you need a message that communicates to the audience you're trying to turn around and get to be aware of you. And so, but yeah, it's like, there's times where you're like, oh, we'll show them. It's like, you haven't shown them shit. Like, you show them exactly why they don't support you.
We've gotten so many hate emails, and we've got death threats and all kinds of stuff from our content. And I don't respond to all of them, but I like to, when the occasion demands it, write up something intelligent,
right,
cohesive, scientifically backed.
Yeah.
And rarely do they ever respond.
No, they don't.
You know,
they don't want. They just want to fight. They just want to have a more fight
because it's just emotionalism.
Right.
I had a hilarious one that I read a while. This was probably a year ago when we posted the video up of this buck.
Yeah.
And I ended up. I know there's a lot of controversy around it. I ended up shooting this buck like 530 yards, right?
Okay.
And one shot kill, smoked him. He was dead before he hit the ground, all that good stuff, right? So there was some commenter on there.
Yeah.
And they were like, if I see you, I'll do the same thing to you you did to this animal in public and whatever. And then a supporter commented on their comment and said, do you realize he just killed a deer from 530 yards?
Right.
And you're saying this about him?
Right.
Good luck, buddy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But it's funny, people will open up their mouth and just, spew whatever because they don't agree with something. And it's like, let's think through this a little bit first. What exactly are you attacking? What are you,
Right.
There's such a huge disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of our platform, I wanted to end with this. So 2 questions. The first one is, where do people like us line up with this?
Yeah.
So we've built this channel for the last 6.5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
We have somewhat of a following. We've connected with our community in a way, especially the California community. Where do we best plug into this and help?
Yeah, locally, I mean, you guys are focused on California, which is great because there's very few California-based podcasts. I mean, we've got amazing habitat and mountains and 3 species of elk. We've got things here that other states don't have. And so I would say in California, it's get involved in the process. Like if you're going to spend 5 minutes bitching on Facebook about something, take 4 of those minutes and go actually read the commission agenda. Like go to the Fish and Game Commission, subscribe to their agenda updates. So you get an email whenever the agenda is published for the next meeting, and you can just see what's on there, see what they're talking about. Like get involved in the process with that. Self-servingly, I think I was gonna say, join HOWL. Like become a participant in the process. And HOWL's Action Center makes it easier than it's ever been. We don't put every single wildlife-related issue up there. We put kind of higher profile issues. We put issues where we vetted the issue, vetted the problem or the opportunity with local stakeholder groups that know it. And if we're talking about something that's in Washington State, we want to make sure that there's Washington State organizations that are needing the support from all over. And so we try to build collaborations. We work very collaboratively across all stakeholder groups within hunting. So join HOWL to stay informed on the high profile issues and then take action through the Advocacy Center. I think that's really important. And then I think a lot of it's mindset. Like switch the mindset that we're not always going to be losing, and we have opportunities. We actually have a lot of wins. We've had a lot of wins with support at the commission level and even at the legislative level. When you look at a number of states where people say, "Oh, we're just going to lose," like we've actually had a lot of wins, and most of them have been defensive wins, though.
Right.
And so we need to continue with that, but have the mindset that we actually can. We, being the hunting community, can become the dialogue and thought leaders for wildlife management, with hunting as the tool and the mechanism that's used to create successful wildlife diversity and successful ecosystems. We have to adopt the mindset that can't happen, because then we start asking how. If we don't have the mindset that it can and should happen, then we'll never ask how do we do it strategically. And then once we say strategically we can do it, then we start talking about tactically, how do we do it? Like, yes, I believe we can get the use of hunting with hounds on mountain lions back in California. I say yes, we can. Strategically, it's going to take 10 years. Tactically, we need to start by doing X. Like we need to start with this. So we need to switch our mindset, as hard as it is, as many times as like, oh my God, it's like, this is just, because there are a lot of headwinds, but strategically, like we have to switch our mindset to acknowledge that we do have a voice. We do have our data is on our side. Our stories are on our side. Our motivations are on our side. We're misunderstood because we're not out there communicating with the general public. And building, I call it like the fourth and fifth, or there's R3, the recruit, retain, reactivate. We're never going to R3 ourselves into a position of majority. Mm-mm. Like we're never going to, like, you can only get so many people out on the landscape to hunt. But we can R4 and R5, that's, building relatability and relevance. Like if people, non-hunters want successful ecosystems and they understand that hunting is a great mechanism for that, then we're relevant.
Yeah.
If people see us out there working hard and treating wildlife well and valuing what we take off the landscape, then we have relatability. And so we need to build, the relatability and the relevance in the non-hunting community. And that's through having our stories out there. Don't just share the gripping rim, but share the story that leads up to that. Don't hunt quietly. Don't hunt quietly.
There's one, I think one caveat to that, and that's that we don't have the majority as far as general population. But if you take the non-hunters and kind of put them in the middle,
right,
and then you take the hunters and the anti-hunters,
oh yeah,
there's way more hunters than anti-hunters, I think.
Yeah.
As far as like hardcore anti-hunters that are gonna work for their cause, right?
Yeah.
They
don't show up. The anti-hunters don't show up in person.
Right.
It's just some executive director for some spawn of the HSUS.
Well, it's probably because there's a really small number of actual supporters.
Anti-hunting is not there's not a grassroots movement of people that really are going to invest their time to go out there and be anti-hunters.
So I think as time goes by, if us as hunters can start becoming more involved through HOWL and physically representing ourselves on, calls that we can be a part of, on, commission meetings, on legislative-based, meetings, and just show up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if we can get a couple dozen guys, if we can get 100 guys, if we can get however many people we can get to be a part of these things, it's going to start showing a real imbalance of power. Like, okay, the hunting community is really serious about this.
Yeah, and we speak well. I think, the stereotype of like we just go out, tap the keg, throw it in the Jeep, go out and shoot everything with our AR-15s. Like that stereotypical Elmer Fudd, dumb hunter, like that stereotype is blown away when you get a community of hunters, racially, economically, like the economical, racial, gender diversity, when you get a bunch of hunters together from California especially, like up and down the state, there's every nationality is involved in hunting. And so you get the diversity of the hunting community into the room, and we also show up and speak about why it's important to us, me, and what I do with it, and why it's challenging, and what is good, why it's good for me emotionally and psychologically, blah blah blah. You get all those stories together, and it's like, wow, this is a group of people that aren't what I've been told they are.
Right.
And we just need to do more of that. So we as a community need to be, the number one thing we have to do is switch our mindset. We're not always going to lose. We're not always going to win, but we're not always going to lose, and we can win more often than not. And we can start working on these proactive initiatives. Like I've got, kind of a 5 or 6 year goal for California. And it's a pretty lofty goal. Like the ballot initiative that it would take to push all of these wildlife management things, mountain lions, running hounds, trapping in California, like the ballot initiative that it would take to get that supported as a constitutional amendment will probably cost $100 million to run. But it will cost less to run if we can organically build relatability and relevance in the non-hunting community over the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, find that commonality
like
among.
If we can get to where people like, oh my gosh, our state is a train wreck. We have a wolf problem. There's no management plan. We have a bear problem. There's too many of them. We have a mountain lion problem. They're getting crushed by bears, and there's too many of them. Like we have a deer problem. Like we have so many wildlife management problems because the department, for a lot of reasons, many of them political, has been forced to keep their head in the sand on a bunch of stuff. They've kind of been bound through political decisions, electeds, or ballot box issues. They've been their ability to be the managers has really been affected, and so we've got all these issues. And I think the pendulum's going to swing to where people realize no management is not management. Like no management of predators is not creating beneficial outcomes for the ecosystems. Yeah. Well, we should just let them all. They were all here first. Like, well, okay, they were all here first. Are we talking about the wolves that were here before humans walked across the land bridge 25,000 years ago? Or are you talking about before the Europeans settled? Because humans have been here on this landscape for 20,000 years, interacting with those critters, and they were killing the predators too. Mm-hmm.
Humans are here now in such a way that there's no way it doesn't impact wildlife.
Yeah. Right.
So
it has to be
not helping them through management is just giving them a death sentence.
Right.
Some species are going to go. Some species are going to be, having issues because we are here.
Yeah.
Either we all have to go away, or we have to figure out a good management plan.
We're bringing grizzlies will be in California in 10 years.
Wow.
I put that. That is my statement today. It's been my statement for the last year. Grizzlies will be in California in the next 10 years because they're going to transplant them to Washington. And they were going to get to Washington already. They're already in eastern Washington. They're going to transplant them to Washington, and they will come right down the spine of the Cascades of the Sierra. We're not that far from Idaho, diagonally.
Yeah.
Oregon's going to have them. We'll have them. Grizzlies will be here. And so when people say, well, we need grizzlies here, well, the most prime grizzly habitat in the state was the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Solano County,
Grizzly Island,
Contra Costa County, Marin County, Alameda.
It's kind of like a warmer version of Kodiak.
It is. Yeah, they had sea mammals. Mm-hmm. They had fish.
Grassland.
They had tule elk. They could go inland a little bit and pound on the grass. Yeah, they had grass and berries, and so when they say, well, we need to bring grizzlies back, I'm like, who's giving up out the island? Who's giving up Alameda? Who's giving up the Presidio?
Yeah.
Who's going to give up the 1 million acres of almond orchards in the Central Valley so we can reflood the Central Valley to give the grizzlies their prime habitat? Don't give the grizzlies Modoc County where you're going to shit on the handful of ranchers up there and give them the leftovers because there's a bunch of people you don't relate to. Like, let's give grizzlies the real habitat. Marin County. So, when we get into things like that, I think I want to call them on their BS, but like all these things are coming our way, and so we need to hold. Like Californians at some point are going to realize no management does not value the wildlife. No management, a null value for management is not a value of the wildlife.
No.
So, yeah.
Well,
get involved. Like change your mindset. Be involved. Not a lot. If everybody just gets involved a little bit. Become an advocate and believe that by sharing your stories with your non-hunting community, you're going to build some relatability that's going to be really valuable to everyone.
And I wanted to end with, and it kind of already answered this question, but I wanted to end with kind of a call to action to anybody who's listening to this podcast. What can you do as an individual to get involved, to help? But you kind of already answered that.
Yeah.
But.
So I want to make a call to action. Because I like talking. So, if going along with exactly what you're saying, just you as a person about your daily business. If you're at work, if you're at a barbecue, if you're whatever, tell someone about you being a hunter.
Yeah.
Like just impact one person's life.
Yeah.
And if you can do that with 10 people over the course of a year, then that's you're making a sphere around yourself of people that are like, when they're approached by some initiative or some bill or some ballot, or their friend is, and they're going to be like,
I know somebody that's
Clayton,
a hunter.
And he's not like that. And, actually it was some really cool stuff what he was telling me about hunting.
Yep.
Or, I had a bear burger at their house. And, and so it's kind of like a totally different feel for them. And you're basically getting more people on your team. So if you you just go about your daily life, every once in a while tell someone you're a hunter.
Yeah.
Tell them about it.
What are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go scouting. What do you mean? going to go scouting. I'm going to hunt bear this year, hunt deer, and I'm going scouting. So I'm going to go up and do this, do that. People will be intrigued.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said is exactly it. People are more willing to take away the rights and opportunities if they don't know somebody that fits that mold. And so if you know that, 3 people on your floor at work, in the office downtown, are hunters, and you like them, you like their work product, you get along with them at lunch, you go have a beer with them, you're less likely to vote for something that would take away their rights, access, and opportunities. So again, we're not recruiting hunters, we're recruiting relationships where people know that they know hunters.
Yeah.
Funny story, I work for a social services agency. I'm a program manager, so completely different than this stuff.
Yep.
Right? And I think we have roughly 70 people on our staff. It's a smaller agency. And every year we have a potluck for Halloween.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, I brought a crock pot of bear meatballs.
Heck yeah.
And I put a little sign, and I said, "This is bear, just let everybody know." And as far as I know, I'm the only hunter in the whole staff.
Okay.
Right? And it prompted some awesome conversations.
Blew some minds.
It was, yes. The executive director was like, "These are amazing. This is bear, really?"
Yeah.
And so it's opportunities like that where we can make an impact. It's relatability. It's commonality.
Yeah.
And recently I had a staff member ask me, do you take the meat and eat it? I was like, yeah, of course. What do you think I do with it, man? It's delicious. And it's how we feed our families. We stock our freezer. So, yeah, having those conversations, it's so key.
That's 70 people that are now insulated from the lies and misinformation that they would otherwise be fed by very organized and funded entities that would take our rights away.
Yep.
Those 70 people are now, they have something in their minds that will create friction against that anti-hunting movement or industry. Yeah, I love it.
Cool deal.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking
out.
Yeah.
Awesome conversation. Get involved.
Yeah.
Those of you who are listening, watching.
Check out Howl for Wild. What's the website?
howlforwildlife.org. You can also go to howl.org. They both take you to the same place. Not launched yet, but you'll see it in the next few months, is the Hunting is Human website.
Cool.
That will be an unbranded website. It won't be a HOWL affiliate.
Okay.
It'll just be Hunting is Human. It'll be completely dedicated to communicating and building that relatability and that relevance into the non-hunting space.
Love that.
Okay. That's our Super Bowl ad. Like, we've done a few things that we posted a few things about it, and like, that needs to be a Super Bowl ad. We're like, it's gonna be. That is going to be the billboard campaign where driving into San Francisco, driving to Seattle, driving to Denver, you're going to see a billboard that communicates the value of hunting in terms of the human value and the wildlife success values.
Nice.
That's going to be where, if you wonder where Howl for Wildlife, if you become a member or a donor or a sponsor for Howl for Wildlife, that's where probably 90% of the money is going to go over time. Is the advocacy tools that we've got. There's a tech platform that costs tens of thousands of dollars to run, and we're always trying to improve it. But where we're trying to raise a lot of money is to buy that mass message, that media messaging, to get people to click into the idea that, hunting actually creates wildlife success. Hunting creates human success. Hunting is good and beneficial to all of us.
Such a great movement.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Guys.
Thanks for watching.
Love it.
Thanks, Mike. See you soon.